Hong Kong's freedom is in danger from scary new extradition rules. Some people in Hong Kong could end up extradited to mainland China, but the people of Hong Kong are fighting back. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Umbrellas are once again in the streets of Hong Kong. Not because of foul weather, more like foul laws that rain down on freedom and wash away democratic institutions. The Hong Kong government has proposed amendments to Hong Kong's extradition laws. If passed, people in Hong Kong could be extradited to mainland China to face trial for things that are illegal in China. So Hong Kongers did what they're so good at. They protested en masse. 130,000 people. Clearly, no one wants to be extradited to mainland China.
The way they have organized this law, as soon as they want to extradite you, it's hopeless. The scariest thing is that in the mainland, they can detain you via executive order. No crime is needed.
It's scary because China has very different laws than Hong Kong. Laws that say criticizing the Communist Party or practicing religion are punishable by long prison sentences. And even if they don't have a law for the thing you did, don't worry, they can make one up. Back in 1997, the UK had to give Hong Kong to the People's Republic of China. But they were concerned that the Chinese regime would immediately take away Hong Kong's freedom. So the British had the Chinese government sign the Sino-British Joint Declaration, where China promised not to change Hong Kong's laws for at least 50 years. Only after 50 years could the Chinese regime take away Hong Kong's freedom. But it's been only 22 years, and already the Chinese regime is like, what Sino-British Joint Declaration? Ha ha, suckers! But taking away Hong Kong's freedom has been done little by little, step by step. Mostly by the Chinese regime gradually influencing the Hong Kong government, which is made up of an unusual combination of elected officials and business groups, often with mainland ties. And then, from within Hong Kong's government, the Chinese regime uses the law to undermine freedoms. So it's all done legally. This became apparent in 2003, when the Hong Kong government proposed Article 23, an anti-subversion law. It would have allowed Hong Kong authorities to charge citizens with treason or subversion for things like saying Hong Kong should be independent from mainland China. Article 23 would have also allowed police to search people's homes, seize property, and detain people without a warrant as long as they suspected someone of treason or subversion, even for so-called crimes like handing out anti-Communist Party pamphlets. I mean, just look at this man handing out a flyer on how the Communist Party persecutes Falun Gong. Information is very dangerous. The good news is 500,000 Hong Kong residents looked at Article 23 and said, nope. And they got the government to ultimately back down and not pass it. That was 2003. Then in 2014, the Hong Kong government said they would allow people to vote for their chief executive, which is like a governor, but only from among candidates that the Chinese Communist Party pre-approved. And once again, the people of Hong Kong looked at this encroachment on their freedom and said, nope. That's how the 2014 umbrella movement began, where thousands of people occupied major streets in Hong Kong in protest for 79 days. But after that, the Chinese Communist Party got more clever. They probably had a hand in getting democratically elected pro-democracy legislators disqualified from parliament. And they pressured Hong Kong to go after people for protesting in the umbrella movement. Just last week, a Hong Kong court sentenced 9 leaders to prison, some of them for as long as 16 months. Their crime? Creating a public nuisance. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Or the bamboo that broke the panda's back. Or something. Anyway, this past Sunday, April 28th, 130,000 Hong Kongers protested the latest encroachment, the new extradition rules. Hong Kong already has extradition treaties with 20 countries, but they're free countries, like the US and the UK. But under the proposed changes, the Hong Kong chief executive would have the right to order the extradition of wanted offenders to China, Macau, and Taiwan. But don't worry, Hong Kong promises they're totally not going to use it against dissidents. The Hong Kong government justified the swift introduction of the changes by saying they're needed so a young Hong Kong man suspected of murdering his girlfriend in Taiwan can be extradited to face charges there. Right. For that one case involving Taiwan, it's necessary to allow extraditions to mainland China now, too. Why not just have a bilateral extradition treaty between Hong Kong and Taiwan? Well, because the Communist Party considers Taiwan part of China. So I don't think they'd be too happy if the Hong Kong government had a deal with Taiwan it didn't have with mainland China. They're the same country after all. So the excuse is obviously flimsy, but don't worry, you can trust the government. They won't abuse the law. Now to all those people who say, Chris Chappell, you're exaggerating. The law only applies to serious crimes, not dissidents. Well, you're technically right. It only applies to crimes that, if the conduct had occurred in Hong Kong, would constitute an offense, punishable in Hong Kong with imprisonment for more than 3 years. But remember, Hong Kong just jailed a bunch of democracy activists to 16 months in prison for the crime of creating a public nuisance. So there's already a trend away from Hong Kong's traditional British-style freedoms. But to be fair, this current round of changes to the extradition law is not at the level of allowing mainland Chinese authorities to just go into Hong Kong and grab any activists they want. But it is very likely step one in a larger plan. A plan to make Hong Kong's legal system look a lot more like the legal system in the rest of China. It's also possible dissidents aren't the main target of the extradition law. They might just be the icing on the cake. Chinese leader Xi Jinping is in a life-or-death power struggle with a rival faction in the Chinese Communist Party, made up of officials and business people tied to former Chinese leader and retired battletoad Jiang Zemin. Since everyone's corrupt in the Communist Party, Xi Jinping has been using what he calls an anti-corruption campaign to go after them. Since Xi started the push in 2012, authorities have investigated more than 2.7 million officials and punished more than 1.5 million people. The problem is, many of Xi Jinping's rivals have fled with their ill-gotten gains to Hong Kong, like a jar of honey just out of reach. In fact, it's widely believed Jiang's political faction still controls Hong Kong. The new extradition law could help Xi purge his rivals in Hong Kong, so he'd have greater control. Xi Jinping's got Jiang under close watch. In this scenario, Piglet is obviously me. So it could be part of the reason why this protest united both democracy activists and business people to say no to the extradition proposal. Notice the sign says "No China extradition." No one seems to be concerned about Taiwan extradition. And that reflects the larger problem. Normally, extradition only happens between countries that have a comparable legal system, allowing fair trials and allowing the accused access to a lawyer. So it makes sense to extradite people from Hong Kong to the UK or the US or even Taiwan. Not that I'm saying Taiwan is a country. But mainland China? People in mainland China sometimes don't even get a trial. They just sit in prison, like this Chinese journalist. Or are denied access to a lawyer, like this Australian writer. Or, if you're like this elderly Falun Gong practitioner, face trial, but it lasts only 20 minutes and you're not allowed to defend yourself. Her crime, by the way, was distributing flyers exposing how the Communist Party persecutes Falun Gong. Tragic irony. So anyway, Hong Kong's new extradition rules are just one small step towards bringing Hong Kong's legal system closer to mainland China. But the Hong Kong government wants to make sure you don't worry about it. It's really just to make sure that a suspected murderer faces trial in Taiwan. But Hong Kongers over the weekend still said, nope. And now they want Hong Kong's chief executive to step down over it. For them, that's step one. So what do you think of the protests over Hong Kong's new extradition rules? Will protesters be able to block them? Leave your comments below. And before I go, now it's the time to answer a question from one of you who supports China Uncensored through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Carbide149 asks, if Chinese citizens are able to travel abroad, what is stopping them from learning the truth about the atrocities the CCP is covering up, such as the Tiananmen Square massacre? Nothing is technically stopping them. And a lot of them do learn some shocking things when they travel to free countries. Except The Chinese Communist Party has done an excellent job of brainwashing people that even when some mainland Chinese citizens travel abroad, they reject the truth even after seeing it on TV or being handed a flyer or talking to foreigners. A lot of times, when people encounter criticisms of the Chinese Communist Party, they conflate that with criticism of China, their country, so they reject it, like they take it personally. Or they learn about the Tiananmen Square massacre, but they think, oh well, that happened a long time ago, and the students were also agitating the situation. It often takes a long time for them to realize that they've been lied to their whole lives, and nearly all Chinese language media outside China are controlled through either Communist Party money or outright ownership. So there's still a lot of Chinese people that never really learn how bad the Communist Party is. Thanks for your question. And thank all of you for supporting China Uncensored. At least Chinese people can come watch China Uncensored to learn about the real Tiananmen Square massacre. Stay tuned for our upcoming 30-year anniversary episode, where I sit down with a special guest who was there. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.